everyone. First of all, I'm sorry this conversation is not in Spanish. My Spanish is not good enough. We had the option to do it in English or in Serbo-Croatian because this genius learned my language in the meantime in the past couple of years. But I think that would be worse. So this is going to be in English. We'll try to make it uh, understandable and nicely flowing. I would like to thank Sebas for having me to be part of this conversation and to introduce this moment, which is a release of his big book of works themed around Yugoslavia region, the countries of former Yugoslavia. This book is actually available here tonight. There's a person there who's in charge of that. It's available for slightly cheaper price than it's going to be once it's officially released. So if anyone's interested, this is a quick and easy way to get a hold of a copy of the book. So I wanted to start. Do you want to say something?
No, just thank you to for doing this with me, and I cannot think of a better person to join me in this. It's true, like true Yugoslavian guy, expert in art
Yeah,
and a great friend. So
yeah.
I mean it.
Thank you.
Varno.
So I wanted to start with this. When did your history of getting interested in that region start from? What's your earliest memories of that? And a little bit tell us about how that came. How are we now sitting and looking at the book of your paintings about that region?
So when I was around 20 something, it's true that I went to the region itself, and very quick I realized that it was that it was a very inspiring place, and I was feeling something already. But even if I try to go further and think of even some childhood connections, I found a few. Like, for instance, I don't know, small things, but there was a band here called Los Suaves, a rock band, and they had a song called Orense Bosnia. And I in that one song, the Bosnia name already resonated so much in me for some reason.
Yeah.
And the same happened with the football players that were playing in the Spanish league, like Kovacevic or Kodro or Mijatovic and many of them. And I had some attraction already to only to the way the nouns sounded. That was so that when I was playing a video game in the 90s, it was called Virtua Striker, and we were playing that in the arcade saloons, and I always chose Yugoslavia instead of Brazil. I don't know.
Yeah. I can imagine. I can understand.
Yeah. So yeah, many connections like that, but it was really when I was a little bit older that I got there, and very early I realized that I was like very, very, very attracted. I also think that when I was in high school, maybe it was the time of the Iraq war and everything, and in high school my group of friends, they were kind of they were a little bit nerdies with politics, Spanish Civil War or politic movements, and we were already like interested in the I don't know, working class movements or socialism or so. Yeah, so then later on when we had a chance to go to holidays, also it was on that time a cheaper place than if you wanted to go somewhere else, and so a lot of things gather like
came together. Yeah. Just a bit of background. Actually, I'm thinking now maybe I should have done that at the beginning. So I'm Sasha Bogojev. I'm from Croatia. I'm from Rijeka, Croatia. I work as a curator and writer. And Sebas and I met about 10 years ago when I was curating a mural project in my hometown. And he was one of the artists that we invited. I came across his work virtually, and I was intrigued by what I first thought was a guy from the Balkans that happens to live in Spain, and then he's painting his homeland or homeland of his family. But then I realized he's not a guy from the Balkans, and I was just, besides loving the work, also intrigued with how well he does it and how much of an eye he has to capture so much of the essence of what that region is like, what the people are like, what the scenery looks like. And then from then our friendship started, and we collaborated on a couple of things in the meantime. And it was constantly a bit of a enigma for me, but I was constantly also at the same time impressed with the depth of his understanding and interest and respect for the whole region, the culture, the politics, the music, the sports that he mentioned. But at which point, I wanted to ask you, at which point did the interest of capturing that region through your visuals, through your painting, how did that came to be? Because obviously as a painter you have the whole world plus imagination to work with, but you selected that area. What was the first elements that was interesting for you, and if you remember, or you can explain even?
Yeah, I think the first elements were like especially the architecture, and I don't know, like some details, like to see like these huge numbers in the socialist blocks of flats, where you see like because the blocks are quite uniform, sometimes you need the number to know which one is yours, and details like that. I remember that it was the ones that caught my attention at first. And a lot has to do also with the light and the way the artificial light makes a reflection in the green areas of amongst this block of flats, and the contrast that these vivid colors of the windows had against the gray of the concrete. And so in the end, I think the first thing was like more a formal attraction to this place. But at the same time as I had this formal attraction, I also started to be curious about the whole picture of the region, like when it comes to the history, to the politics, everything related to the falling of Yugoslavia. Because it's hard to understand and it's fascinating at the same time. So I don't know if I had the luck or the lack of luck of that those two things merged together, like having that more formal attraction combined with this general human interest. And it came fast, but the more I started to research, the more I was already prisoner.
That's what I noticed with time. I mean, at first it was just this general idea of portraying that, but then the more I was looking and the more I was knowing you, I realized how deep that goes. And just to give you a context of someone coming from that region, the areas that, or blocks, or kind of environments that Sebas is portraying, everyone sees those as kind of the least attractive. This is the ugliest part. This is the least interesting. But then somehow having someone else pointing at those being beautiful, being interesting, and creating beautiful paintings from them, it really, I had so many experiences back home of people that are related to art or not at all related to art, to find out someone painted that and painted in such way, and then I know for me personally, it switched the way you are observing these things. I happen to have, my wife is Dutch, she lived in Croatia, so I had a couple of times this opportunity to see my environment with other people's eyes. And it's very interesting when you have someone else see what you take for granted and present them in a complete different way. But then from Yugoslavia, there was, let's say, starting point, right? But then your interest spread a bit further in the region of, let's say, Eastern Europe. How did that happen to?
I'm really interested in the wider region of Eastern Europe, but especially I have two places that are the main attraction that I have to, both personally and as an artist, and the other is Poland. My wife who's around there is Polish, and I'm also trying to learn that.
Of course, that's an easy one.
And I think it's very interesting to see that having like both socialist regime after the Second World War, they produce like a similar landscape in these things we are saying about the socialist planification of the cities, like the fast industrialization of the society. So this made that there were a lot of working class neighborhoods, trains, factories, and this post-industrial thing after the socialist collapse is very interesting in both cases. But I like to also take the chance to compare them and to see also the difference in between them. because I don't know. For instance, I think in the case of former Yugoslavia, the architecture, even if you have this like uniform blocks, you have maybe a little bit more of variety of blocks. Like some of them looks more like a kind of science fiction. Like forms, and they have more details. And I think this is also because the political system in Yugoslavia was totally different from the ones which were the Pact of Warsaw, like Poland, which depended more of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, exactly.
And in that sense, I like to even pay attention to that subtle differences. And then in the case of Poland, you see also that they have this kind of more Nordic good taste for things like posters and typography and graphic design, and that then goes into things like the neons that they used to put in the train stations or the I have a big interest, and I enjoy more and more to analyze like the little differences. But especially I would say like maybe Yugoslavia is more a Latin Slavic place,
Latin Slavic,
and Poland more a Nordic Scandinavian Slavic.
Oh, nice! I like that comparison. Yeah, but as you developed your work working around those regions, you had these contracts that you said with like green grass and then these concrete blocks and then spark of light in the building and or a neon light. With time, you got quite more familiar with the culture, with the atmosphere, with people, with the history, with the mentality, and this is what I've been noticing, knowing you over these years, and what I really always admired about you is that you stayed distant and respectful from talking about or including the recent war and the fall of Yugoslavia in your work. I mean, it's present in there. If you know where to look, you can sort of see it, or maybe even feel it. But this would have been an easy card to play, to include in your work, because it's a kind of shocking theme. And you purposely, I know you stayed clear from that. Can you tell a little bit about that? How difficult it was that to stay away, or what are the reasons that you wanted to completely stay away from it?
So I think that it's because maybe I tend to separate what I feel about the region as a person and my interest as just a person who is not a painter, and then the other Sebas, which is more the painter. And when I'm only listening to my human normal Sebas, I'm very, very interested in the world itself, in even the smallest detail, like why the Serbo-Bosnian army decided that Garbavica was the best neighborhood to enter the city. And but I think if I wasn't a painter and I was just a postman, maybe I would have the same historical interest, right? But the the pictorial interest maybe doesn't respond so much to those things, even if they have an impact, of course, in the environment itself. So it's just because when you decide your topics for the painting, you don't. In the case of many of us painters, we don't make such analytic thoughts of I should paint this because this will represent I don't know, brotherhood, and you just feel attracted to something, and you just like need to use that as a source of inspiration, but you really cannot explain with thoughts and words, and it's a more visceral, I don't know if that's a word in English, but like a more direct feeling that you get. But I'm at the same time very, very interested, and I think, as I was saying in the beginning, those both interests grew together, and maybe I'm saying like they are totally separated, but I think they have an influence.
But this Sebas person also influenced what Sebas artist was doing, because at some point a couple of years ago you had a whole show, I think it was in Italy, where you had the installation with memorabilia, even some of my family's personal belongings was there installed. Which is amazing. I remember showing that also to my family, and such in-depth research you went to. Like, you have that painting, it's all in here. You have that painting with the band in a kafana in a bar. You have video game screenshots. You have Tito from a photograph. what was the idea of going so deep into, like, was it to understand things, or was it to pay tribute? How now with few years distance, how do you see that moment?
Yeah, I think it's because in these 10 years I have had like different moments, and maybe in the beginning of this journey, let's say, like I wanted to know so much everything that I thought that maybe painting those all maybe I can try to show them, like you see in the beginning of the book, like I was playing like I'm sure I'm not gonna find. Oh, but this is the video game I was mentioning that I did a painting on its tribute. And yeah, like I was painting all like more not only the blocks, but also like old football players, like
Look at that face.
Yeah. Or like I was making using reference from family albums, and I think it was just a way in which I wanted to swallow all the history through painting it. But then I realized that maybe I was finding already that history in maybe in just an old car, in an abandoned building, in a street lamp in the night. Sometimes the objects you find in the present, they already have all those layers in the past, no? So at some point I realized that maybe it was a little bit pointless to use those, but I still like it as that period, and also as a kind of a formal research to try different tools to interpret an old picture, to separate and use something that is not your original source. But I don't know, with the time I just realized my true emotion was somewhere else. But
for me it felt like a almost needed part of your research to absorb and to understand on so many levels and so deeply the whole mentality and region. And like you said, your more current works are also having those elements, but they're just not in your face. They're not that present. There's not. And how do you, so nowadays in your work, how do you go, how much did it change the focus of what you painted maybe at the beginning to your most recent works? Because last year Sebas had a show in Sarajevo at the History Museum of Sarajevo, which in itself, that institution is like an existing metaphor of a failed country, of a failed promise. It's an institution that's kept being kind of Yugoslavian and independent from nationalism, from being on any of the sides, and because of that, it doesn't have any support. And for me, it was so emotional to see Sebas's exhibition there and him presenting this point of his research after all these years. And the works, I mean, are feeling exceptionally well painterly executed, but also very deep, knowing your background and your research in what they contain in them. So can you tell a bit like how does your work now?
Yeah, maybe now I use those elements maybe with more freedom. Like I use them as a sort of reference, but I tend to be more free in the way I use it. If I take a reference from a photo that I take, maybe in the past I tended to use that one as the only source, and now I do like a longer formal process in which I make some digital collages, and I tend to mix more pictures that I take myself, but from different trips, from different years. Like I'm using them like with maybe less respect, if I can say that. Yeah, again, it was like a natural process, like when you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, nothing.
No, because it's kind of like me working with artists. Usually, the trajectory of an artist goes from practicing the technique and then losing the technique, getting looser with work. And in your case, it feels like there's looseness in technique as well, but there's also looseness in the approach, where before you were very strict about finding an element, capturing through photography, and this is also something I wanted to mention actually. And now, like you said it yourself, now you're allowing yourself to maybe invent the setting. Maybe it doesn't have to actually exist like that, but you can construct, which I think makes the works even stronger, because you can create even stronger contrast that they are in reality. So yeah, photography. I remember when we were in Rijeka and you were taking reference, and I know on your other travels, this is a big part of your practice. Was this from the start, or yeah, how do you approach that part of
Uh-huh.
your practice?
Yeah, I always used to travel with the camera to make the pictures and then go home and have that material and gather all the material with the previous trips or whatever. But evolved in the way that before I was just casually walking and see what's going on or what happens, and now when I go, I like maybe I bring a better camera also and more equipment maybe, but also I make my schedules a little bit like I'm gonna spend the night here, the day that I'm gonna go that neighborhood, I'm gonna research. It's like it got more sophisticated. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
very ugly word, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also before, when it comes to the atmosphere and the temperature
Mm-hmm.
of the landscape, and I didn't pay so much attention, and now I'm more like, how is November in Wrocław at
Mm-hmm.
7:30, and like I'm
Yeah.
having like a more critical glaze towards
Mm-hmm.
the environment, but also
Mm-hmm.
from a light and climate point of view, or a
Yeah,
weather point of view. I
yeah,
don't know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
so.
yeah.
And then the archive also, the archive I used to create these paintings got bigger and bigger. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that
Mm-hmm.
also enriched the, I hope,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
the painters, because maybe I could use that background from Belgrade from 2025,
Mm-hmm.
not 25 this last year, and another one from years ago, and yeah, I think maybe I just have more material to play with,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um, when we're looking at this one, I'm thinking what's important, what's one of the key things, and this is the title of my text in a book is called Siaju Tami, which means shine in the darkness. This was always something that you were mentioning, and for me, it always kind of brought this idea in painting. Traditionally, one of the important elements to capture is light and how it
Mhm.
affects objects and people around it. And this is also for you. It's a, again environment that for me, because I'm coming from that region, is something that it's not interesting, but seeing it through your eyes and seeing it with your poetic idea of how you're seeing, it became so much more meaningful.
Mm.
So this idea of um, neon lights, but even more these windows with a light inside. So was this from the start something that was significant for you,
Yeah.
and how much does it affect of like what you're gonna focus on? What does it represent for you as well
Yeah.
in your work?
I think there was also always present like a certain melancholic feeling in
Yeah.
all these former Yugoslavian or Polish cities,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that melancholic feeling I got it from the first place, like
Mm-hmm.
this emotion of, I think maybe it's the to be in front of a landscape that is the product of a kind of failed utopia,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, I think the objects that were meant to be some good solution for the people, and then the structures remain, but
Mm-hmm.
the context changed totally, no,
Mm-hmm.
with the war in the
Exactly.
case of and I think that a big melancholic emotion stayed in the air
Mm-hmm.
of all
Mm-hmm.
these regions, and this is something I did notice from the beginning,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know.
This atmosphere of melancholy, it's something that's so constant, whether it's a portrait that you are painting of a person who's mostly young people.
Yeah,
In Rijeka there was that older man you painted
yeah,
on the mural, um, or it's a beaten up car, or
yeah,
it's a neighborhood block. There's always this melancholy of something that's kind of paused. Even people are most alive and maybe most freshest because it's young people that are maybe fashionable, but they're always kind of like this,
yeah.
just standing waiting for the next thing.
Mm.
And this is also the title of the show, and the title of the book is The Morning Will Change Everything. Oops, sorry. The Morning Will Change Everything, which is a song from Indexy.
Yes.
And the whole meaning of that song is kind of a this optimistic view of right now it's not great, but we have to be patient for the for the next fresh start.
Yeah.
And this is the atmosphere of the work is always kind of having that right now it's quiet, but the next thing, like, do you have this idea of optimism being somewhere in the work, or is it straight melancholy?
Yeah. On the one hand, sometimes when I speak about these melancholic elements and this sadness, like, then I feel like, because in my life, like, normally we joke, or I don't know, or in my life, Raúl Cimas is much more important than Schopenhauer, and it's like, but then when it comes to wanting to express through painting, this melancholic is what catches me the most, and I can't help it.
Yeah.
So sometimes I like to, at least with some, give some hints of hopeness, and I like this title of Indexy because it contains this, right? And also because it pays a tribute to the character of the people itself, because it's in Bosnia especially, right? It's a people that suffer so much, and then the humor they have is like is top quality, right? And it's a land of contrast, and that's why I like also this kind of contradictory titles, places, because you can read it as something promising, sound good for the future, or something bad is gonna happen, or they go from crying for something about the world to laughing about the most stupid thing, and I think another of the reasons why I'm so attracted to this is because it's our lands that capture every human feeling and aspect, right?
True.
So I try to pay attention also to those contradictions.
Another thing I forgot to mention, if at any point someone has questions, feel free to interrupt us. We are chatting here, but you can be also part of it. You're more than welcome. I wanted to ask, since now I mentioned the mural you did in Rijeka, in my hometown, for that project. When did the murals come into your practice, and how much did they affect your studio practice, or maybe the other way around that you might be aware of?
So I started painting with the spray can very soon, like many of us, and I was what I was going to say. And like at the same time I was painting these characters, because it was like within the graffiti thing, I was always more focused in the characters, and that then transformed into more painterly murals when I started to not use so much the spray and use brush and paint, and at that point I started also to develop more as a painter, so it all went more or less together, but somehow I always felt that I felt myself more like a painter that sometimes paints mural than as a muralist that paints
that was
so
that was kind of evident for me as a observer. This is where your murals stood out for me. They really felt like,
but at the same time there were a great chance, because a lot of the people I met, like you and like so many friends, it was through this culture, and so you cannot also separate that experience, or it's an important element as well. That's why we decided to include a section in the middle with some of this photo of these murals and photo research, like to make evident the trip as part of the of the process too.
I remember when we were in Rijeka, I was searching for who do we have of family friends or friends of friends that might live in that skyscraper above, I don't know, 7th floor, so you can observe there and then find contacts that they would be in the evening at home, that we can go to the balcony and take photos. What I wanted to ask was, there was also a connection early on you had, which was a new thing for me. I wasn't aware, because I ignorantly had my idea of Spain looking in a certain way, what you have as a kind of a idea how a country looks. But when we first talked, you said that there was some connections between Burgos, where you're from, and these working class blocks.
This is because also this city of Burgos has had this industry growing up, and they built also a lot of blocks as well, like somehow similar. And as a kid, I also remember that I was like kind of I cannot say inspired, but I was at least curious about these areas, and some of them even had like some corridors in between the blocks, and so then when I saw them like but the real thing, like it was
it's
I found that connection, like in the end, in different political systems, the process of industrialize created some similarities.
Similar solutions to the thing. And then because you are essentially a painter, like you said, also with murals, you're a painter that sometimes paint murals. And then as myself as a curator, someone who's looking at art and enjoys, also grew over time. Over these 10 years, I started noticing how much of actually you can recognize these traditional elements, which maybe you can connect with Spanish painterly tradition, are in your work, but they're completely switched. They are not still lifes, they're not bodegons, they're not vanitas, they're not noble people, but the approach is still this kind of the same, essentially same painterly approach, looking at similar subjects, but just doing it differently. How much were you aware early on when you started painting this region or these elements? How much were you aware that this is actually similar things, just moved somewhere else in time and place? Or was this something that you understood with time and recognized yourself in your practice?
You mean the relationship with the topics that the Spanish painters used?
Yeah, like with traditional things. So, like with you paint kitchenware, where is like reflection on the metal and light.
Yeah.
Then you have street lights, you have car windshield reflecting. You not have noble people with silk and very expensive fabrics, but you have young people in football jerseys and.
Yeah, that's something that it's a beautiful thing that we that happens to us as painters, that even though like 300 years pass, like you see that when you are watching a painting from an old master or whatever, but you see that maybe he's paying attention to this wrinkle and how the light affects to the fabric, and you realize that happens the same if there is the suit of the infanta or the tracksuit of because the painter had the same feelings and the same can be applied like with beaten up cars, like when you see the attention they put into the still lifes, and so that's something I don't know if I was very conscious, but when I go to visit like some old masters, I love to have that connection.
Yeah, because like, I sort of feel like I remember us talking about it early on, but maybe I wasn't understanding enough what you meant, and then it took me time to catch up with what you were seeing, and I started making this connection more and more obvious. And you mentioned before, by the way, maybe someone thought of a question or something in the meantime.
Maybe we can try to finish slowly and then we leave.
Okay, we can also do that.
Because I feel we're talking like a lot.
No, we're good. I think we're good.
We're good. Okay.
You're welcome to also tell us it's enough by walking out if it's getting enough. Okay. What I wanted to ask. Oh yeah. So you at one point mentioned that you are now also including these elements of, let's say, the history of that region in a present day, like how it exists right now, and that I find very interesting. Can you tell a little bit about it? How do you see that happening in the work? Where do you recognize the past in the present, and how do you maybe put accent on that? Like this idea of present day being a messenger of the history, transmitting the past into the present day.
Related to these elements in former Yugoslavia, for instance, or
I mean, in your work in general, we mentioned it before.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's sometimes you even see something like not important, like a street lamp, and but you see that this street lamp had a very interesting design, and that was because there was like some people like who had this goal of making the the best street lamp. So I like to find the history of the country through something as not important as a street lamp, no? Or with the cars, I see it a lot. When I see the cars, they are like as a formal inspiration, that they are attractive because they have all this color, the sign, but also when you see these beaten up cars, you get the memories from, I don't know,
what they've been through.
Also, if they are not beaten up, maybe you have like some kind of memories of our childhood, whatever. Because when I see a car that is so old, that is from the 60s or something, I don't have any interest whatsoever. And when they are already new, I don't have them. So it's this particular lamp, I think it has to be.
Yeah, well, they have this shiny part, and then the other, like one part is fixed with the unmatched completely, like this door.
And because this fact sometimes relate with the way the painters are built, because these cars maybe have different layers of paint and repairs, and they take out this and they put this, and when you are doing the painting, maybe you start with the first layer, but then you realize this is not working, so then you go with something over it, and then you put the line. And so I like to find a parallel in between the object itself, whether it is a car where it was repaired, whether it is a building that had bullet holes from war, or in Poland that they painted in pink all the time. So these layers that the reality has make a parallel with the layers of the painter. And I find that very, very interesting. I don't know if it's what you're asking, but I find it interesting.
Yes, definitely is. Yeah. And how come you decided to? I mean, is there a plan to do more books? How come you decided to make a book that it's focused on the region?
I think
does it have to do with the museum show? Is it
no. I had the idea in mind because I realized that it was already something powerful, or I don't know, that I had spent a lot of energy on, and I don't know, just to have the chance to take a look to that obsession through the 10 years, the fact that it was 2015, 2025, and I don't know if to make a pause, because I cannot wait to the next trip to do more photos and more paintings, but I feel like it has like I don't know, like it's like amount of time that I wanted to look towards from with some distance, and the book was a nice opportunity for that. And also because I don't know, from the 100% of my paintings, like maybe 40 are inspired in former Yugoslavia, 40 in Poland, and what is the rest? I don't know. 20 in some other places. So I think it would make sense to make a book also inspired in Poland, but maybe from that, maybe I don't know if it's gonna make sense anymore, because in the last paintings, the Frankenstein is so big that it's parts of everything. Maybe the guys who appear is some Korean people I photograph in Nevada, and the background I take a small bit from Sarajevo, and then in case my paintings go that direction, it's good to have this memory now.
And now that you're seeing this book, like what you said, that you're looking back at these 10 years, are you aware of how much of your practice has changed, or maybe you're aware of where do you want to take your practice from here on? What are the elements that now your focus is on? Because, for example, you had that moment that you were researching the past, that chapter you pretty much closed, and now you're saying it's this Frankenstein approach more.
I realize about little details like that that maybe you take away some things that are not the most important, and you hopefully you stick to the core of your emotions maybe more. I also realized that I think I am kind of not a disaster, but my personality.
No,
it's like so. And at some point in the middle of this journey, let's say, I was like more tight, and now I see that I untied this, and I recovered this looseness on the approach, and I think this was also a natural process. But I realized about that when looking at the book, and I also. I don't know. I think I became more sensitive to everything, like more open to. Explore. I don't know, to feel about all the stuff in life and let that feelings affect the work.
Yeah.
When you are from Burgos or the Basque Country, or we are kind of cold, and sometimes we don't let the emotions. And I don't know. And even though now I don't paint any old picture or something, like the whole journey of being so freaked about all this, made possible that now I let those feelings be more present.
Yeah.
And not only through the painting, but through things like the music, the people you met, I don't know.
Yeah, I felt that with the work that we saw in Sarajevo. And
with the music, for instance, I recommend everyone to research the new wave and the rock from the former Yugoslavia, because it's just amazing. And discovering this music also made me realize, because I was a lot into metal and rock as a kid, and then with the graffiti thing or whatever, I started to listen to more hip hop. And then now I realize that my true soul also is so much connected to guitars and it made me come back. Maybe I didn't come back to the metal, but more rock or more. And I started even to find more connections between the painting process and the music in the way it's constructed, like the emotional atmospheres, the tensions, I don't know, and I think this was thank you to the Yugoslav rock that opened all those doors.
For me, as you know, music is a very important part of life. I was literally, honestly, in taxi listening to Indeksi, Jutro će promijeniti sve, and the other song that I titled my text with, to get myself in the mood, for this conversation. Does anyone have any question? The questions can be in Spanish also, or in Basque, and he will handle that. Anyone, something? Input? No? Perfect.
I work a lot with music, but I work a lot also with podcasts and recently I love also to hear podcasts about how I have no clue about music, but now I enjoy a lot people talking about the scales and things that I don't understand. So not the music itself, but the musical analysis. That's something I like a lot. But all kinds of podcasts, while I am painting, it gives me concentration. Interviews, but a lot of music as well.
But the music from that region, from that time, it's quite progressive, because Yugoslavia was a weird concept. It was in between being communist, socialist, kind of Russian model, but it was also very much flirting with the West. So there was both influences very strong, and that results in the movies from that time, in music from that time, and there's some gems from there.
Totally.
Maybe another pregunta.
En castellano puede ser también,
Right. If nothing, thank you for being here. I hope this was a little bit interesting, at least. Thank you for listening through. Congrats to Sebas on this book, and thank you again for having me along on the side of your journey. It's a pleasure to hang and do things. And again, thank you to Khan for having us here, for letting us speak a bit about this.
Thank you.